To analysts and serious students of Jung, Dr. von Franz needs no introduction. Dr. von Franz comments in this interview on the meaning of Jung's concentration on alchemy. We'll hear briefly about her interest in the themes which are treated in depth in her recent books, Projection and Recollection in Psychology, Reflections of the Soul, and Dreams and Death. Dr. von Franz, I wanted to ask you about your early life before you met Jung. Did you have any experiences of the psyche that made you curious?
I had a tremendous dream with a vision in it. And that absolutely knocked me over, and I didn't know how to go on. So then I wrote to him. And this big dream I had was all, at least the solution of it was all alchemy. So then I wrote to him if I could have an interview, and when I had an interview, I told him that big dream. And he said, oh Lord, I knew you had to do with alchemy, but I didn't know it was that much.
Look, listen.
And then by distillation, and then by coagulation, and then by concentration through firing, the alchemical body is brought to completion. These are processes that go on both in the alchemist's laboratory, and they are processes which go on in the heart and mind of the alchemist. It was essentially a poetic enterprise, as alchemy always is.
A civilization needs a myth to live. We know that if missionaries destroy the myth of a primitive people, they destroy them. Also physically, they begin to drink, they degenerate, they are lost. And no civilization can live only from welfare. It needs a myth to live. All great civilizations, when they were flourishing, had a living myth.
For the alchemists, Mercury was mind itself, in a sense. What is being described is what Jungians call the individuation process, a dissolving of the boundaries of the ego, an allowing of the chaotic material of the unconscious to pour forth where it can be inspected by consciousness. And we'll see tonight when we look at this art that these images are full of ravening beasts, incestuous mother-son pairs, incestuous brother-sister pairs, hermaphrodites. All taboos are broken. This stuff just boils up from the unconscious, then is sublimed through these processes, and then is somehow fixed. And this fixing then is the culmination of alchemy. And if you can bring off this trick, then you possess our stone, the philosopher's stone, the lapis, the Sophic hydrolith of the wise. And so all this fantastic apparatus is really not so much in the service of channeling liquids, gases, but in the service of channeling spirit out of matter and into the higher realms, where it then can be refluxed, recondensed, and the lapis philosophorum, the stone of the philosophers, the central mystery, brought to completion. It's the self that we are trying to recover. This is lumina de lumina, the light trapped in matter, the lux natura. This is universal medicine, curing all ills. It is the answer. It is what everyone is looking for and no one can find.
And of course, we find in alchemy, the life of Christ is an alchemical formula. We also find, according to the Kabbalists, that the Song of Solomon is also a chemical formula in disguise.
If our Western civilization has a possibility of survival, it would be by accepting the alchemical myth, which is a completion and continuation, and richer completion of the Christian myth. That's a myth we could live again with.
The Christian formula of the Christ mystery places Christ as the final achievement of the universal medicine. And in the alchemical symbols, figures of Christ, also of other saints, appear in the bottles to indicate that this was the intention of the story, although most people didn't realize that fact.
And the Christian myth is deficient on not including enough the feminine, or in Catholicism they have the Virgin Mary, but it's only the purified feminine. It's not the dark feminine. And in excluding matter and treating matter as dead and the realm of the devil, and in not facing the problem of the opposites of evil. And alchemy faces the problem of the opposites, faces the problem of matter, and faces the problem of the feminine. The three things which are lacking in Christianity. And therefore it complements the Christian myth and could revive it too that way.
When you speak about the livingness of matter, I have heard stories of Jung in his tower talking to his pots and pans.
Oh, well, naturally, that was partly a joke, but you know, one of the last times he went to the tower, for instance, he hadn't been there for a long time, and the first days the covers of the pans like to jump off and fall on the floor in the wrong moments, and you know how objects can absolutely misbehave. So he put himself up in the middle of the kitchen and said, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, pots and spoons, I know I have neglected you for a long time and you are angry with me, but I beg your pardon and I ask you now to cooperate again." And from then on, at least Ruth Bailey tells, there were no more accidents. He had great fun with that.
Peter, there is a deep magic more powerful than any of us that rules over all of Narnia. It defines right from wrong and governs all our destinies.
Oh, I notice it when I come up after the winter. When I come up in this house, there's all sorts of imps. The W door doesn't lock anymore because it's gotten rusty, and you know, matter, if it has to cooperate with you, needs loving care. And not only technically by oiling and so on. You have to kind of live with it. Otherwise it plays you tricks.
Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. Read by Adam Hannon. The world and all within it is man's conditioned consciousness objectified. Consciousness is the cause as well as the substance of the entire world. So it is to consciousness that we must turn if we would discover the secret of creation.
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination.
Knowledge of the law of consciousness and the method of operating this law will enable you to accomplish all you desire in life. Armed with a working knowledge of this law, you can build and maintain an ideal world.
We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation.
Consciousness is the one and only reality, not figuratively, but actually. Therefore, through his power to imagine and feel and his freedom to choose the idea he will entertain, man has control over creation.
If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world? There's nothing to it.
The redemption of spirit and matter means the exteriorization of the human soul and the interiorization of the human body, so that it is an image freely commanded in the imagination. Imagination. I think this is the first time I've used this word this evening.
And he told that story, which you can read in the memories, about this girl who was on the moon and had to fight a demon, and the black demon got her. Oh. And he pretended he told it in a way as he really had been on the moon, and it had happened.
The imagination is central to the alchemical opus because it is literally a process which goes on in the realm of the imagination, taken to be a physical dimension.
And I was very rationalistically trained from school, so I said indignantly, but she imagined to be on the moon, or she dreamt it, but she wasn't on the moon. And he looked at me earnestly and said, yes, she was on the moon. And I thought for a long time. I still remember looking over the lake there and thinking, and either this man is crazy or I am too stupid to understand what he means.
And I will challenge you to try to imagine what the achievement of the Philosopher's Stone would be like. So imagine for a moment an object, a material, which can literally do anything. It can move across categorical boundaries with no difficulty whatsoever.
And then suddenly it dawned on me, he means that what happens psychically is the real reality. And this other moon, this stony desert which goes around the earth, that's illusion, or that's only pseudo-reality. And that hit me tremendously deeply. When I called Father Brandt into bed because he gave us a lot of burgundy, that evening I thought it will take you 10 years to digest what you experienced today.
So what do I mean? I mean that if you possessed the Philosopher's Stone and you were hungry, you could eat it. If you needed to go somewhere, you could spread it out and sit on it, and it would take you there. If you needed a piece of information, it would become the equivalent of a computer screen, and it would tell you things. If you needed a companion, it would talk to you. In other words, if you needed to take a shower, you would hold it over your head and water would pour out of it. Now you see, this is an impossibility. That's right. It's a coincidentia positorum. It is something which behaves like imagination and matter without ever doing damage to the ontological status of one or the other.
There is only one reality, and that is Christ, human imagination, the inheritance and final achievement of the whole of humanity. That you may open your immortal eyes inwards into the worlds of thought, where you behold every desire of your heart as ripe grain, white already to harvest. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. John chapter 10, verse 10.
I shall be watching you always. In your world, I have another name. You must learn to know me by it.
By imagination, we have the power to be anything we desire to be. Through imagination, we disarm and transform the violence of the world. Our most intimate, as well as our most casual relationships, become imaginative as we awaken to the mystery hid from the ages, that Christ in us is our imagination. We then realize that only as we live by imagination can we truly be said to live at all.
A recovery of the real ambiguity of being, an ability to see ourselves as at once powerful and weak, noble and ignoble, future-oriented, past-facing. We each need to incorporate into ourselves the banished contradictions of being that so haunt the enterprise of science. We can leave that behind, and when we do, we reclaim authentic being. And authentic being, make no mistake about it, is what alchemical gold really is. That's what they're talking about. authentic being.
Blessed are you, King of the universe, for you have done all things well.
The personal shadow of people didn't upset him. That's not the problem of evil, it's that major evil which worried him.
And his real approach to that was the inner work
Yes,
that he did.
the only thing you can do,
Only.
to confront yourself with it where you are. All the rest, all the benevolent, if benevolent preaching would help, then we would be out of the trouble long ago, because we get a lot of benevolent and reasonable preaching, but it doesn't help. So the only place where you can really put the hand on it and deal with it, body to body, the problem of evil, is in yourself.
So the alchemical symbolism is a lovely metaphysics. It is a gracious and beautiful approach to one of the great problems of daily existence. It is a way of applying all that we know to all the problems that we must solve. Gradually, step by step, we become more knowing, more useful and more helpful. And we become better citizens here, and whether we realize it or not, we're better citizens of eternity.
All this individual work is building a temple.
Yes, I think that's what I meant when I said before there are thousands of Jungians who have never heard the name Jung. All the people who are honestly working on their own inner problem in their own way are builders of a new temple.
And every individual in his own personal life can be an alchemist. He can be a worker with the divine chemistries of living. He can work with the chemistry of adjustments with society. He can work in disciplining his own nature. He can develop integrities and kindliness and gradually transmute his life from a self-centered effort to succeed into a soul-centered effort to serve the great cause of life.
That's a dream which would compensate feeling a bit lonely, feeling a bit an outsider. And the conscious says to him, no, do your own job and you are one of the builders. Hermes Trismegistus said in one active imagination to an alchemist, I am the friend of whoever is lonely. The unconscious doesn't speak to you when you are with people. Your attention goes to the people.
As these changes take place within himself, he will find that he is gradually being transmuted.
Spiritual truth. It won't be all about mountains or temples.
Soon, just the heart.
You promise.
I promise.
This man told me everything I've done. Oh, he must be the Christ!
He is being changed from a mortal creature to a divine being, which was always there, always within him, but which was locked by the limitations of what we might term natal ignorance. The ignorance of a life growing up that has to grow to know, has to develop its own potentials in order to be able to learn, and which, one way or another, by the problems of life, will ultimately be impelled to dedicate itself to the search for that which it needs to know.
But one must not want it with one's mind or head, or want to organize it. One must let that happen.
If we put all these things together and work them out, we will be, I think, good alchemists, good mystics, good Christians, and good followers of the great ethical principles of the world.
And did he make you attend church regularly?
Oh, well, that was quite natural.
Yes.
Everybody went to church on Sunday.
And did you believe in God?
Oh, yes.
Do you now believe in God?
Now? Difficult to answer. I know. I don't need to believe. I know.